Hello, everybody, and good morning. It's good morning for me. I have my cup of coffee here with me, and I just felt inspired to get on here and talk and doodle at the same time because I don't know if you watch videos, sometimes it's nicer to have something to watch than just like a still image. So that's why I'm doodling. But the topic that I wanted to talk about is how visualization plays a role in spiritual healing because I focus a lot on spiritual healing. I feel a very big passion and calling towards doing it, teaching people how to do it, doing it for other people. It's like it's the thing in life that really lights me up. Or one of the things. I have a lot of things in life that I just love. But yeah, anyways, so I guess I'll start off with the story that I want to tell. And the story is basically me energetically healing myself fairly recently, like a few days ago. And I'll let you know about my approach to it. So, what I do is I meditate and kind of just feel the physical area in my body that I want to add some healing to, or I feel like needs some like tension release or something. I'm gonna get a sip of coffee. Hold on. And for me, that was right behind my left shoulder blade. So I kind of just went in there, and imagination also has a lot to do with it. I'm not sure if I should call it imagination or if like my mind's eye has like sounds better. I don't know. But imagination, my mind's eye, in my head. I'm doing it in my head, but also I feel like I'm doing it with my consciousness, if that makes sense. So basically what I did is I went into that area of my body and I kind of just poked around. I didn't know what I was going to find, and I let the visualizations come to me naturally. And what I saw at first was, it was just like a dark forest. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but I was just walking through a very dark forest, and then eventually I came across a bear, just like a big old grizzly bear, and he was sitting by himself by a fire. And I approached the bear and I was like, "Yo, what's up?" Because obviously there's a reason I'm running into him, because I came to my shoulder blade to do some healing, and there's a bear there. So I introduced myself to the bear. I let him know who I was and what I do. I let him know that I'm like an energy healer. That's what I'm here for. And I don't know, I just had a conversation. I told him random things about me. I was telling him like, oh, how I'm also an artist. These are my goals in life. This is what I want. And I just opened up to him. And I don't do that every time I'm doing it, but for some reason with this bear, it felt right. That's the thing about like spiritual healing, is you kind of just got to go with the flow and do what feels right. It's not scientific at all, which I love. I love to be able to stretch the imagination and see what the imagination is capable of. But yeah, I was talking to the bear, and then eventually I opened the floor up to the bear to speak. I was like, okay, well, I told you about me, so what's up with you? And then he just started telling me, he was like, I don't really know where to go or what to do. I'm quite lonely. And I was like, oh. And then it kind of clicked for me why I was there, because that's something that I have experienced. At this point in my life, I live very far from a lot of people that I care about. I don't have very many people to interact with where I live right now. So mostly I'm just like on a hermitage journey. And sometimes that gets to me, you know? I'll be like, damn, I'm quite lonely. And going into my shoulder blade and hearing that bear say that, I realized that those lonely feelings that I've been feeling, that's where it got pent up. I'm taking another sip of coffee. Because, you know, it's a pretty common saying, like, oh, the body holds memory, the body remembers, and all that, which I believe is true. And what I discovered through that is my body was remembering the lonely feeling and storing it behind my left shoulder blade, like in that muscle behind the, is that a bone? It feels like a bone. Like behind that bone, that area was just very tense for me. So yeah, when I investigated it, there was a bear there and he was lonely. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, problem solving mode, because I believe that every problem also presents a solution, even if it's not easy to see. But in this case, it was pretty easy to see. So since I've done the energy healing on myself before in this manner, I'm aware that I have a version of my childhood self who lives kind of like in a fort in my heart. It's hard to describe what that dwelling is, but imagine like a pillow fort hanging out in my heart, and then there's a child in there, and that child is me. So I was like, okay, Bear, I'll sit here and talk with you for a little bit. I talked and listened, and then after a while, I decided, I was like, do you want to meet a friend? And then I took the bear over towards my heart chakra and knocked on the door of the fort and was like, hey, kiddo, have a friend I want you to meet. And then I introduced the bear to my little childhood self who resides in my heart chakra. And we just came in, we had dinner, we talked, and then I just kind of let them become friends. And it came clear to the bear. I was like, okay, anytime you're feeling lonely, you can always go back to the kid in the heart chakra, and then they are there for you. They're there to hang out with you anytime, because my childhood self is someone that I definitely trust with literally anybody. Even now, I would trust myself with anybody. I'm kind. I'm a do no harm kind of person. But what I'm saying is, I knew it was safe to bring the bear to my childhood self who was living in my heart, because I knew that he would just accept him. He would be like, yeah, bears are cool as hell. What's up? And then I did that. And then after I did that, I felt it, like when I closed the door and it was just the bear and my childhood self, and then I'm leaving, disconnecting from it because I felt like my job here was done. I felt something. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a sensation in that area. It was like a quick little just release, right? Which was awesome. But I also do want to mention, maybe I should have mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it now. I also have been doing some like exercises to help strengthen that muscle right there, the muscle that was holding tension. I have been putting focus on physical healing as well. So I was just doing exercises and stretches to target those muscles. And then that's when I felt called to go in and do the energy healing. So I do think that both physical healing and energetic healing are necessary to like fully heal something. But I just thought it was cool because I felt like an instant relief after I introduced the bear to a friend. And then now my shoulder blade right there does have some issues. It's not as sore all the time or tense all the time as it used to be, but I do think that continuing the physical exercises to help just strengthen that part of my body is definitely helpful. So that was really cool. And then after I did that, I actually went to the other side, my right shoulder blade. And I did something similar, but I came across a different character. I came across a gnome living in a house, but it was like a gnome who didn't leave the house. So I guess this was kind of like the hermit part of me. And the gnome still didn't want to leave the house, but he wanted company. He wanted people to come over. He was like, I have this beautiful house. I take care of my house very well, and I'm just lonely. Like, so I guess I was storing a lot of loneliness in both sides of my shoulder blades. I'm gonna drink some coffee. Hold on. So yeah, it was like, that's where all those lonely night feelings ended up settling within my body. They were just in my shoulder blades. So I've been doing exercises to strengthen my back, and then I went in and talked to the entities, in quotations. I'm not sure how to categorize them, but I guess I talked to the energy that was living there and just came up with solutions for them. So for the gnome, what I ended up doing is, since all he wanted was company and people to come over, I invited my childhood self and the bear to come over. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna help you clean up the space. And I imagined myself going through the backyard and kind of mowing the lawn, weed whacking all the weeds and like getting it nice and presentable. And the gnome worked on the inside of the house. I don't know what he did. I wasn't there. Interesting. That felt interesting to say. Anyways, I wasn't there to see how the gnome prepared for the party, but I let him know, I'm like, I'm going to clean up around the house, like outside of the house, and you do what you need to do inside, and then we'll have some people over for dinner, or just for a little get together. And we did that. I went outside, I mowed the lawn, I weed whacked, and then after a while I came to check on him, and I was like, all right, you ready? And then after that, the inner child and the bear, who were just introduced to each other, they came over, and we went inside the gnome's house, and we just had a nice little time. I didn't stay very long. It was more of like I was just a facilitator of getting all these people together. But I thought it was pretty cool because to me, that felt a lot like I was just introducing different parts of my body to different parts of my body, if that makes sense. And I feel that's something I've been doing a lot energetically lately, is just finding points of tension in my body and then finding either what they need, or sometimes what they need is a purpose. And I found something similar to that previously. It was like a little while before the bear and the gnome thing. And what had happened there was just this energy kind of towards the bottom of my spine, maybe like a quarter of the way up. And it was a spot that had been bothering me for a while, and I had visited it multiple times. First time I visited it, it was like a patching up a wall kind of thing. Like I felt like there was a leak there, and I imagined myself just like using some caulk and patching up that area. And I did that, and it was fine for a while, and then eventually I went back to that area, and I was like, okay, maybe, because it was like a brick wall, and I was like, I think what needs to happen is the purpose needs to change. So I'm going to take out this brick wall and install a metal plate right here. And I didn't know why I was doing it. It just felt right. And that's the thing about all of that. I don't know why I do it. It just feels right. And I do see that it actually helps. So I installed the metal plate there, and I left it there for a couple of days. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what it wants to be. I guess that's what it wants. I'll leave it there. And then for the final time, I went back to it. And, well, what had happened was I was kind of meditating on it. I was like, what the heck is going on? And then what I heard was, it's going unused. And I was like, unused? That's interesting language. What do you mean unused? What's unused? And then, so I tapped into that question. I was like, what is unused? And it turned out, for me, in that area, kind of above the solar plexus, but like 1/4 from the bottom of my spine up, is like an energy furnace, if that makes sense. So I can send energy throughout my body and just send it straight down to be burned and transmuted like pretty much immediately. And I wasn't using that part because I wasn't aware that it was there. But after tapping into it a couple times, I finally discovered what its actual purpose was. And its purpose is just to grab little nuggets of, well, not grab little nuggets. I have to send the nuggets of energy down there, and that part of my body will just incinerate it. I call it the incinerator. And I do this with non-conscious energies. I don't know to what extent the energies within myself are conscious. Again, this could all just be my very active imagination. I'm not opposed to thinking of it that way. But, for example, the bear and the gnome, they didn't go to the incinerator because they had, like, conscious qualities. They had a conversation with me. They had something that was very reminiscent of a body. They had a personality, and they kind of talked on their own. But sometimes when I'm going through my body and clearing energy, it's just like little black bubbles. And I have no problem sending little black bubbles down to the incinerator to be burned, transmuted, and then released. Released as new, fresh energy into the world. So that's something I've been using a lot as well. I wonder if there's any other stories I could tell you about my own journey through energetic healing. I don't think so. I think that's all I've done so far. aside from like the healing hands thing that I had a little series on this channel about, which will be linked down below if you're interested. If you don't know what that is and you're like, ooh, what's that? That sounds interesting. Basically, all it is I'm teaching you how to tap into the vibrations of your hands and how to use that to move energies. I guess I could talk about how I believe that works. It's kind of like using your aura, I guess you could say, and using it to affect things outside of yourself, because I believe that your energy is extended beyond your body, right? I think that's a kind of common belief. And I believe we actually have the ability to move things very similarly to how we move things physically. It's just we can't see it or directly feel it through physical, well, I feel it through physical sensation. I feel it through my hands. But if you're not aware of how to do that, it might feel non-physical. But I do think there's a physical element to it. Like, I genuinely think that there's something there. And I don't know, because it's not like a scientifically proven thing. But there's definitely something there. And it could be technically physical. It could just be something physical that we're unable to perceive. Like, you know how birds can see more colors than we can? I think it's something similar to that, where it's like we just don't have the proper organ to be able to perceive the energy around us in that way. Or maybe we do have the proper organ, but since occultism and spirituality is kind of niche, becoming way less niche, it's becoming more popular. But since in general we're not really raised to tap into those senses, that we're not very sensitive to them, right? So I'm thinking that everything physical, or how do I explain this? It's like, I believe, well, we know there's air. So maybe the air is holding something that we can physically interact with and change through intention, but we can't physically see it. And you can feel it, but it's a very subtle feeling because most of us are not trained to use that feeling or use that skill. I hope that makes sense, because it's a little hard for me to articulate. It's feeling, bro. You just gotta feel, bro. It's the power within. Okay, let me think, because I want to describe this as well as I possibly can. So, I think of it like this. When we are physically moving something, we are touching it and moving it. And that's very easy to understand. Everybody's capable of doing that. And I think the exact same thing is going on a level that we cannot physically see. So we have our... Okay, let's do a diagram. Okay, this is a human being. I'll give him a little top hat just for fun. So we have a human being here, right? And he has energy around him. This is also the human being, I guess, but it's the human being aspects that we cannot see. That is the energy around the person. I think if you're here, we can all agree, everyone's got aura, right? So the aura is a physical thing just as much as the body is, but we just can't see it with our eyes, but we can feel it. And what I'm thinking is going on is we interact with other energies that might be around us. Like, let's say here is this good old wall of energy. And so this human here extends his aura to move the energy. And then this energy just reacts in the exact same way that we use our hands to move something physical. We are using our energy to move something energetic. Same thing. And I think that is still we call it spiritual, but I think it's still a physical thing that's going on. It's just that we can't see it through our eyes. And I do think something different is going on when I'm speaking on the visualization, going inwards and healing through consciousness kind of thing. That I can't quite explain, but like the hand aura energy healing, that makes sense to me. But the other part, I'm still thinking on it. I'm thinking of how I rationalize it. I've been spending a lot of time also just contemplating my own beliefs, because it's like, okay, I have a huge imagination. I'm very imaginative. But what are my actual beliefs? Like, if I were to ground it down and explain it to other people, what is it that I truly believe is to be true? And I've been pondering that a lot. And that's a part of it. That's a part of it. I don't know how to explain that I go inside and talk to a bear and heal my shoulder. I don't know how to explain that part yet. I'm continuing to ponder it. But through the hand healing, this makes a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know about you, but it makes a whole lot of sense to me. I guess I'm done with this video. It's already, what, 21 minutes? Yes, it's 21 minutes. So I'm going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble and share my experiences that I have been exploring. I will be doing more videos like this often. I also do tarot readings, and then I do healing through art as well. If you're interested in any of that, please feel free to subscribe. I also have an Etsy link down in the description, so if you do want to purchase some of my art, you have the opportunity to do so there. And last, I think I mentioned it before, but if you want to learn how to tap into your hands and heal things energetically, as I was talking about with this human, there's a playlist that will be linked down below that I go through step by step on how to tap into that ability, because you can do it. You can do it. Trust. And yeah, that's all I have to say here. You have a nice day. I'm going to go finish my coffee and also have a nice day. And goodbye.